Can I welcome everybody to the Merchants Hall tonight, splendid hall, for this Mayoral Hustings on culture and tourism. I'm Chris Bailey from the Guild of Media Arts. We're one of the two organisations that led on this, the other being the York Tourism Advisory Board. We had the support, I'm glad to say, York Bid, Make It York and York Conservation Trust. Many organisations across North Yorkshire helped as well, and organisationally from the Merchant Adventurers and YO1 Radio. Now, if you're in need of a toilet, then there are toilets downstairs. You go out of that door, down the stairs to your right, and we have no fire drills planned for tonight, and there are two fire exits, one being signalled by my accomplice over there, and the other one down the stairs where you came in. Hopefully everything will be fine tonight. So I think we should just crack on with it. So it's my pleasure to introduce to you our chair for the night from YO1 Radio, Jonathan Coap. Jonathan, over to you.
Chris, thank you. Thank you very much. Good evening. All right. Is it working? Yes, it is working, sort of. Can you hear me? One of the candidates told me that as they came in tonight that this is their, deep breath, 17th hustings of this mayoral campaign to become the first ever elected mayor of the combined authority for York and North Yorkshire. So I think they all deserve a round of applause just for spamming that. I always get instructions as I leave the house for events like this, and it's always the same instruction. Say as little as possible. They haven't come to listen to you drone on, they can do that on the radio every day. So I will say, again, as Chris has just done, welcome to the magnificent surroundings of the Merchant Adventurers Hall, a place that over the centuries, many of them, has seen many great debates, discussions, and tonight we shall have another one on the subject of the arts, tourism, culture and heritage. I'm sure will all come under our investigation tonight. Thank you so much indeed for coming out on a chilly evening. If anybody knows where the thermostat is for North Yorkshire, then he or she will get my vote. The questions tonight have been submitted in advance, so we know who's going to ask the questions. If we've grouped the questions into subject areas, so if you could stand up and indicate to the people with the microphones whereabouts you are, then the microphone can be passed to you and we'll all hear what you have to say. To begin with tonight, we're going to give each of the candidates a couple of minutes to say their piece and to lay out their wares, as it were, on the subjects of heritage, culture and tourism. So, should we work along the row in the order that we're going and begin tonight with one of the independent candidates for the mayoral elections, which take place a week today, I'll remind you, Paul Haslam.
Thank you, Jonathan. We're exceptionally good at tourism in North Yorkshire. It's our, and I'll include York and North Yorkshire. I just get this tongue twister out of the way. But we're very good. And actually, in fact, we do over $3 billion a year in revenue from this area, of which half of that, in fact more than half, comes out of York. So it means that York is exceptionally good at this. This is an industry that we need to build on going forward. It's also cultural, and it has wellbeing benefits, it has health benefits, and it has community benefits. But it also has the benefit of being able to attract great business into this part of the world, and also good public services as well. So where am I going to go with this one? I'm going to the fact that we've got this superb asset, and as an ambassador, I am going to be out there using things like UNESCO, City of Media Arts, etc., as a promotion for our great area. In terms of where we are right now and what I can do to support, I'll be looking to support this industry and help it build. I will want to construct a proper, full plan so that we know what we want to try and achieve. Some things we won't get right, some things we will get right, and we can build on the things we get right. Also, the plan, because I'm a very inclusive mayor, will be what I'll call co-creative. So it won't be me, it'll be the experts that are coming to to me and the combined authority and discussing the options available. So I'd just like to say this is a great opportunity for York and North Yorkshire to go forward. Thank you.
Paul, thank you very much indeed. If you would pass the microphone on to Felicity Conley-Blister, who is the Liberal Democrat candidate for the Mayoral team.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm a Yorkshire businesswoman, and I'm the only candidate with the leadership, business experience and skills that are essential for this role. I'm a politician with a career, not a career politician, and I started my career in the city as a commercial property lawyer many years ago now, where I had several high-profile projects, including the London Eye. Aged 30, I moved to the Yorkshire Dales with my husband, where I bought a derelict castle and converted it into a hotel, which is Swinton Park. Over the years, it has doubled in size. I've created 150 jobs, and we have a turnover of 6 million. I also help run Swinton Estate, so I'm familiar with the world of agriculture, forestry, and conservation. I'm the proud mother of 3. I'm an active member of the community, and I'm a county councillor. My vision for York and North Yorkshire is for the region to be a thriving hub for investment, research and skills. For it to achieve its carbon zero target, be biodiverse and sustainable, and for us to get our fair share. My ambition for all of us is to be able to live in a low carbon home we can afford, in a sustainable community, and on a salary that supports our family and our well-being. As your mayor, I pledge to make culture a key element of our identity, with cultural well-being as an objective, to support the development and retention of talent, and celebrate and champion the status of York as the UK's first UNESCO City of Media Arts for the benefit of the region as a whole. Working with Screen Yorkshire, I will drive investment into the location, film production and post-production media sector. Yollywood, here we come. For tourism, I pledge to embrace our unique mix of outstanding heritage and culture with our natural landscape and cutting-edge contemporary creativity, to deliver a clear strategy and brand, address the skills shortage and boost the nighttime economy. As your mayor, I will be a facilitator, collaborator and champion for the region. I will deliver change for the better. I will drive sustainable economic growth, and I will demand a better deal for us all. I will be proud to be your Yorkshire champion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Felicity. Now we move on to the next table, and the next microphone will come after we've heard from David Scaife and Keith Tordoff. We'll come to our first question from the audience, so that's on its way very soon. But David Scaife, the Labour candidate, would you like to say your 2 minutes?
Thanks very much. We are blessed to live in the most beautiful part of the country, and we have a historic city by York, beautiful spa town like Harrogate, with coastal regions, gives us access to a stunning beach.
I'm going to stop you there because I don't think people can hear you. I'm certainly struggling here. I'm not sure that microphone is on or working. No, don't think it is. Can we use the red one? Side mark on maybe that's a magic. There, well, I can just could use this one, that would be great.
Okay.
Sorry, start again, please.
Can you hear me with that? Yeah, okay. All right, we'll go again. Okay, I'll start with that again. That's all right. We are blessed to live in the most beautiful part of the country. We have historic cities like York, beautiful spa towns like Harrogate, coastal regions that gives access to the most stunning beaches, rolling countryside, and chocolate possibilities. Within all this, we are blessed to have national and international famed landmarks, national parks, and a reputation for being one of the best places to live and visit. The culture and tourism industry is responsible for creating about 60,000 jobs in our region and putting billions into the local economy. I myself, as a shop owner right here in York, and previously on the board in New York and the chair of the York High Street Board, I have been a tiny part in playing and bringing people here and sharing our region and showing how wonderful we are. We are incredibly lucky to have so many active and passionate organisations in our region that do brilliant work to showcase York and North Yorkshire in its best light. My role as mayor will be to support these organisations, promote our region and help the vital sectors continue to grow. We have huge potential here and we will continue to reach that when we bring people together, organisations and work as one. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And finally to Keith Tordoff, who's one of the independent candidates.
Good evening, everybody. Keith Tordoff, I am an independent candidate. I'm actually the only independent who isn't either a councillor or a member of a political party. My background is that I was a police officer for over 20 years, leaving the exemplary service as figure. I've been in business banking for over 10 years for the north of England, investigating multi-billion pound frauds. I've been in the community running the oldest sweet shop in the world on Peterbridge High Street with my family for over 25 years, which we built to a national brand with online sales going around the world. Sold it in 2021 when I stood to be policed by a crime commissioner for North Yorkshire as an independent candidate. I'm standing because I'm passionate about Yorkshire. I was born in Leeds. I don't go on holiday. I've been for over 25 years. Fortunately, my wife's of the same mind, so that's doesn't cause me any problems. And why I want to do this is because the politicians have failed us, and now we're going to keep on voting for more of the same. And that's what it really comes down to, because this is a very, very vital role. In the community, I've chaired the Chamber of Trade, got flagging high streets who won the Great British High Street Awards, the best high street in the country, chaired the Britain in Blue Group, won the national title when the councils at Harrogate Borough Council, as it was then, and Peterbridge Town Council said you couldn't win it in the categories. We actually won the national title. And in the process of that, I'm proud to say that I've got a young man called James Owen Thomas, Josh, who is severely autistic, and he does artwork like cutting scratch cards he finds on the street. And mentored him, still mentor him, and he's become the Tree Council ambassador, and he's at the moment got that exhibition at the auditorium at Castle Howley, makes a living now from his art, and he's also Tree Council Top 26 Youth Ambassador. I'm passionate about people. I'm not doing this for ego, I'm not being funny. I'll be a fantastic ambassador. I will, I've done lots of TV programmes because of part of the sweet shop, but it helps the economy, it helps the vote area. I've been involved in films, and the films that I've brought, I've recently been a consultant on the playground, unlike any other, about Yorkshire, with Scott Sid, local filmmakers from York, and I'm on the credits of that film as a consultant. So I'm passionate. I've got all the business skills, I've got all the social skills, I've got the ability. This street, if we're going to deliver, not York City, City of York Council and North Yorkshire, politically arguing, it needs a conduit, it needs somebody in the middle. That would be me. I will work with them, I'll hold them to account, and I'll deliver. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed.
Jonathan, we need to do Kevin Foster as well.
Now we have two of the six candidates who are unable to join us this evening. One of them is Keane Duncan, the Conservative candidate. He's not been able to make it. Kevin Foster is going to appear live on my programme on the Y1 radio tomorrow morning at about 20 past 10. He is the Green candidate, but he has sent us a statement which Chris can read out now.
Yep. I'm sorry I can't attend tonight, but this hustings conflicts with my long-standing commitment to attend a military families event as Armed Forces champion. Let me start by saying that it is a fact that culture and tourism are major contributors to the York and North Yorkshire economy, and it is my opinion that supporting and sustaining these sectors is vital to our future success because so many families, jobs and businesses depend on them. There are some big challenges. The arts are under pressure because of austerity-driven loss of income, loss of grant funding and loss of sponsorship. Just like residents, our visitors need effective, reliable and affordable transport systems to bring them to our area, and so they can move around easily to visit our attractions once they're here. The arts and tourism industries need skilled local workers, and those workers need access to affordable accommodation in the right places. A thriving culture and arts sector is crucial for a healthy and prosperous society and should be inclusive and accessible to everyone. It's also an essential part of the offer needed to be successful in attracting inward investment. Successful cultural and tourism sectors are driven by the knowledge, skills, talent, hard work and drive of the people who work in them, but they need support and infrastructure that is fit for purpose. As a Green Mayor, my priorities for the culture and tourism sector include improving the reliability, frequency and coverage of our public transport systems, which will benefit everyone, tourists, workers and residents alike. To drive up public transport use, we need timetables that enable people to get to and from work and to and from events consistently. Delivering affordable housing across the region, which will be subject to local occupancy restrictions where appropriate. It is vital that workers in the cultural or tourism sectors have somewhere decent to live in their own communities and close to where they work, and so business can find suitable staff to fill their vacancies. Working with education and training providers and industry partners to tailor the adult education programme to meet the needs of the arts and tourist sectors and increase the use of local skills and talent in the sector. Working with the tourist and hospitality industries to develop one of the best green tourism offers in the country. supporting and promoting events within the region. Our people, our artistic and cultural heritage, and our landscapes and seascapes are amongst the biggest assets. We need to make the most of them.
Well done, Kevin. You kept to 2 minutes, just about there. Thank you very much indeed. Right, you've heard the opening salvos, as it were. Time to roll our sleeves up and actually hear some of your questions. They have been submitted in advance tonight. Questions have been grouped together, so we'll hear the questioners, maybe 2, maybe 3 at a time, ask their questions, and then ask our panellists to give their answers. I'm hoping there might be a little time at the end if there are more subsequent questions from the floor. But let's hear our first question tonight, which comes from Abby Goff. Abby, can you make yourself known, and a microphone will be brought to you. As with all the other questioners tonight, can you just say a little about yourself and identify where you're from and what perspective you're asking your question from tonight, please?
Yeah, so I'm a student at York St John University, and when I graduate, I really want to work in the creative industries. So I was wondering, how will you make it possible for me to achieve my ambitions without having to move away from my friends who are in Yorkshire?
Very good question, thank you. Felicity, can I ask you to start with your response to Abby's question tonight? We've got the microphone sorted out.
Yeah, thank you, Abby. Yeah, great question, and I really think it's something I can help you with. There's some great potential in the region in terms of creativity and opportunities for growth. And as Mayor, one of the most important aspects of the role is to help create growth and effectively create jobs for graduates such as yourself. I'm aware that there are schemes already, and I would pledge to support them. There's a great Creative Skills Academy, which is aimed at entrepreneurs to enable them to grow to the point where they will employ more people. So it's all about delivering growth, which I, as Mayor, would be able to enable. There's another element to it, which is to make sure that the course that you're on is the right course, delivering the right skills for what the business needs. And that's where the Mayor is really a facilitator and collaborator is able to join the dots, as it were, to make sure that the businesses are getting what they need in terms of graduate skills. So, to answer, thank you.
Could you pass the mic on to Dave? Because we know that one's working there. Let's go with it.
Yeah, and just to follow on from that, I've been meeting with colleges and industries over the last few weeks, and that's a really big part I want to play is how we create that link into industry and to our education providers, our university, our colleges throughout the region, to make sure that we have got that link in place, that we are creating the skills and we are creating the workforce that our local economy needs. So making sure that people then directly have a job and they're up to speed in the industry that they're wanting to work in, and also creating the environment in the whole of York and North Yorkshire where our next generation of people can stay there. Unfortunately, we have a region in York where the average house price is about 11 times the average salary. In North Yorkshire, it's about 9 times the average salary, and we have quite poor transport connections. So a lot of our young generation and school leavers and university leavers are unfortunately forced away, and we can't retain up here because we're not having those links into industry. We're not creating an environment where they can stay and afford to be here. So it's creating more affordable housing, more rental properties as well, so our young professionals can stay there and work in the industry that they want to, and linking that in with and on the transport connections as well. So enabling the next generation to be able to stay in the region. At the minute, we are losing a lot of people because they just can't afford to be here. So having that link into industry from education and creating the environment as well.
David, thank you very much indeed. And some thoughts from Keith, and then we'll come back to my side here to Paul Hassan.
Yeah, the important thing is connecting with students with businesses, and this is where we need to be looking at connections. It's working or starting to work in the hospitality industry where they work alongside colleges so that students can connect with the hospitality industry, and that should be the same for more. So it comes down to motivating, educating in terms of ownership of businesses, working with the colleges and the schools and the universities. And of course, those who fail in the education system, we need to be looking at training opportunities for them. certainly possibly in the green industries, and I would look to establish the first green college for technology in the North Yorkshire area. I've been up to Labman up at Stokesley, and Labman is a fantastic business providing robotics around the world. The only company that does it besides one in Switzerland, a 92-year-old gentleman who actually runs that business, and it's giving opportunities. He works with the universities in the North East. I've had discussions with him, and they would love to work with the universities in York area, etc. So it's going to be somebody who's very proactive, somebody who is seen as a facilitator, actually gets things done. And my proven track record of doing this, and a tiny example is what I mentioned earlier, James and Thomas. There's people who maybe can't find direction, but by supporting them, mentoring them, putting them in touch with the right people. We've let young people down. We now need to support them more than ever. They are the ones who really, and that will be helped through modular housing, which I've said I will introduce. I've spoken to the Housing Association on Brownfield, in Hillside, Core Centre, Thank you. I'll pass it on. Right.
Thanks. You raise a very pertinent question. The issue in this part of the world is not about the quality of the jobs or even finding the training. The issue is to bring high-performing, high-paying jobs that create a career path. We're losing too many young people, either south or perhaps, dare I say, west. But we need to be attracting business so there. I will be bringing in businesses, and in particular, we've identified 6 or 7 key businesses, and creative and digital is one of those businesses. And we need to create business clusters where all these businesses can form. But to attract great businesses to our world, we've got to have certain things in place. We've got to have a great transport infrastructure, an integrated transport infrastructure where people can get where they want to get on the public transport and arrive at the time you expect to arrive. And we've got to get that trust back in that particular area. We need to look at affordable homes, but putting the affordable homes where we need them. And again, we need to look at lifelong learning so we can create adult skills, because we know, even for many of us in this room, we'll know how much we've had to change through our working lives and gain new skills. And finally, we need to make sure the place is safe. So when we're advertising and seeking to bring business here because we've got talent, we have to have all those different things that create business. And at the end of the day, the most important thing in business is people, and we need to be able to have our people have good jobs, and we need to retain the young lady at the back there. Thank you.
Paul, thank you very much indeed. So there we are, the first 4 responses to the first question. We're not going to do this all the way through the evening, but can we just take the microphone back to Abby? Is Abby still got the microphone?
Yeah.
You want to stand up again?
Yeah.
Your response, not to any one particular of the candidates, but did you feel you got an answer that addressed your issue?
I think so, yeah.
Good, okay. Well, let's hope you can stay in York and North Yorkshire and do your creative thing. Right, so there we are. Our first question really on the issue of creative education. The next 3 questions are bundled together, and the subject is strategy and management of tourism. The first question comes from a gentleman whose surname I'm not sure how I pronounce. It's Kenny Leask. Leask. My apologies. Can you bring them? Could you stand up? Andrew Morrison is going to ask the next question. So, Andrew, if you could identify yourself somewhere there, I'm hoping. Is Andrew with? Oh, hello. Hi. And John Oxley is going to ask another question under this broad heading of the strategy and management of tourism. So, go ahead.
So, hi, I'm Kenny. I work for a social enterprise called Good Organisation, which enables marginalised people to share in the economic benefits of York's tourism sector. There's been a lot of questions around over-tourism recently in the news, and I just wondered if any of the candidates would support the introduction of the tourism tax, and if so, how would you ensure the equitable distribution of any revenue to make sure it benefits communities?
Okay, hold that thought, and we'll go to Andrew Morrison to ask a question that we've bracketed under the same broad heading Andrew, would you like to, for those who don't know you, I don't suppose there are many,
Hi there.
would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Andrew Morrison. I work for York Civic Trust, which is a civic society, and there's a network of civic societies across the whole country, but particularly across York and North Yorkshire, where we're interested in how heritage can be used to shape the future of the city, of places, not just the city. And my question really is, and I wrote it down because I didn't want to get it wrong, one of the key drivers for cultural tourism in York and North Yorkshire is visiting places that are connected to our shared past. How do the candidates aim to ensure that our places, and particularly the public realm that is so important to them, are maintained to a high standard that ensures they're accessible to everyone?
Okay, thank you for that. What are your thoughts on that? This is a little bit of a test of their ability to keep track of the questions. And our third question from John Oxley. Hello, John.
Hello, I'm a heritage professional and I'm representing the York World Heritage Steering Group. York is on the UK tentative list of World Heritage Sites, and we hope the new mayor will support the bid for UNESCO, to UNESCO for World Heritage status for York. As part of the bid, a tourism management plan is required for the detailed application. What ideas do the candidates have for managing tourism across the combined authority of York and North Yorkshire?
Very good, thank you, sir. Former city archaeologist, next up. Yes, of course. So there we are, 3 questions from Kenny, from Andrew, and from John. The tourism tax and tourism levy, ensuring that the places in the public realm are preserved, looked after and promoted, and the final question from John relating to the UNESCO application and managing tourism. I think last time we started with Felicity, so this time we'll start with David. If you'd like to grab a microphone and give your answer. Try that one, I think that one might be working.
Hello?
Yes, it is. Great.
Quite a lot to go at there. In terms of making York accessible and looking after our heritage in particular, I think that's vitally important. The reason why York and North Yorkshire is such a sought after place is because of how beautiful it is and how well presented it is. So we need to make sure that we are keeping with that, and we are working with our historical buildings in particular, and making sure that the York and North Yorkshire is kept as beautiful as it is. In terms of supporting the UNESCO, was that the next question?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that kind of puts York and North Yorkshire once again on the map and keeps us at the top and makes it the place that it wants to be. I think it's really important that we do that. We are reliant on tourism. We are reliant on being the place that we are. We are reliant on being historical like we are, and having the place to build. We are particularly places like York. That's why people want to come here. So we have to be very mindful of our history, making sure we're working with it, but making sure that we also are involved in it and we are attracting new people and new ways of showcasing the city.
And the tourism tax, just briefly, the idea of a tourism levy. Benny started it today. Should York start it if you become there?
I think there's a big scope for it, yeah. I think it's something that we have to work with industry, and we have to be support and work with business, but I really feel that we should be doing that in particular. We need to be making sure that we are investing back into York and into the region, because it is, we don't have all the money in the world, and we have to be thinking of ways that we can attract investment in the community to keep York and Yorkshire as beautiful as it is. So I think there is real scope for that, absolutely, yeah.
David, thank you very much indeed. Could you pass the microphone on to Keith, please?
Yes, thank you. I don't think we should just talk about York. I know we're in York, but we're talking about York and North Yorkshire, so we've got places like Ripon also, we've got Selby, we've got Skipton, and we mustn't forget these places. A second home tax should be a must, really, so that we start getting some money in which can actually fund some of the projects and some of the things that need doing. So certainly I would be looking at that, and with Airbnb, the prevalence of it, I know it's very useful, but on the other hand, there needs to be some working with Airbnb to actually get some tax from that sector and make sure it's properly regulated as well. That's the important factor. Accessibility or marginalised. Well, I actually work with Amar Latif, if you've heard of him, who runs a company called Travelise, which he's blind himself, he went blind at the age of 6, and he provides travel for partially sighted and blind people. So, and that again ties in with the tourism, what we should be looking at, how we actually appeal to all sections of the society. The heritage, my background is all about heritage. The oldest sweet shop in the world famous, put it on the map. Visitors from all over the world, a visitor attraction. But it's not just that my business, every other business benefits when people come to that business in little old paper bridge, and it revives the high street. The butchers do well, the bakers, the pubs, everybody does well. So it's all about making sure that the heritage, we work on it. But Ripon have got that heritage, York have got fantastic heritage. And I see York, right, that's the capital. I've said all along, if I get elected mayor, this will be my seat, York. It's very inconvenient for me, but I'll come and basically get a flat here, spend my time, my own money by the way, nobody else's, and make sure I concentrate, because this is the first model. Let's get everything right here, and it spreads out. So, in relation to the World UNESCO, well, we've got obviously sites such as Fountains, Nidderdale, etc. And again, being chair of the Chamber of Trade, chair of Blood Group, the whole heritage thing, that's what it's been about. Publicise, make people realise that brings tourism and it brings the spend from that. So I believe that we've got the best place in the world, a playground like no other. This is the place, we can sell it so easily. This is going to be the capital of the country if I'm elected there.
Okay, on that note, we'll leave that. I'll take the microphone from you. John, you keep that one. We'll see if the both are working there.
Hi.
Paul.
Thank you. I'm going to take the questions in reverse order, if I may, because I think that the last question actually also creates the answer for the first question that was asked. So yes, as a management consultant for over 20 years, creating change in business, I believe I'm ideally placed to help create a plan. And we must create a plan because it is such a large area, and we need to get it right. So it will be co-created, but we do need to have a plan, and it needs to be able to be delivered on time and on budget. However we do that. In terms of the UNESCO awards, we really do need to win as many of these awards as we can, because we need to build our tourism, we need to build our cultural base. And we already have a fantastic 3.2 billion every year that we bring in, and there's a huge opportunity there. As for the tourism tax, then I think there's quite clear that when we look at the plans that we have for our whole county, as well as what we call the capital, we should look at what the business case is for creating that tax. And if there is a business case, then maybe we should. But until we prove that there's a reason to raise a tax, then I would not want to do it. So my view is we create a great plan, we go, and the ambition is to get that status, and we then work out what to do next. And I'd just like to make 3 questions. Thank you.
And finally, thank you, Paul. And finally, Christy.
Thank you. So, dealing with them in order. Kenny, your question was about tourism tax. I think today tourists recognise the impact of tourism, and they are now much more mindful of the need for tourism to be sustainable. So I don't think it would be controversial to consider this. I think we would have to build up I would require a business plan which would identify the impacts of tourism at the moment, the costs, and what the likely income is from the tax, in order to be able to establish where the recipients and who the recipients should be. It's normally the community that's impacted most by tourism, so I wouldn't be surprised if that was the outcome in that case. Andrew, your question about heritage, standards, accessibility, it would be part of my tourism strategy to set a standard to ensure that the experience of visitors to the region enjoy a quality experience, that they leave wanting to come back for more, and that I would, in order to help deliver this, identify where there is need for further support, financial grants, whatever, help drive in further public or private funding for that, and to ensure also that it is acceptable for all. And finally, John, your question about the tourism management plan. My tourism management plan for the region, York and North Yorkshire, would focus on themes and trends. It would focus on heritage, our market towns, our culture, our landscape, and also it would focus on emerging trends, the appetite currently being for learning and for volunteering, for authentic and sustainable tourism, for active and outdoor exercise, and for health and wellness. That's where we can return our very best value for money, by engaging with the trends and delivering new products. There needs to be a very, very clear brand, a very, very clear vision, in order to ensure that all the stakeholders are on the same page.
Felicity, thank you very much indeed. And thank you to all four of our panellists for tackling those three questions. So that was strategy and management of tourism. Let's move on with three more questions under the broad heading of promoting the culture of the region more widely. How's that going to happen? The first question is going to come from Philip Bolson. Can you identify yourself, sir? We'll get the microphone to you. Is Philip Bolson with us? No? It would appear not.
I could be Philip Bolson for the purposes of the
You've
debate.
already been
That's
a
all
Green
right.
candidate. Chris, you can be Philip Bolson as well. So, this would be Philip's question. Were he here?
What is the Mayor's plan to ensure that Yorkshire is promoted to the world, that there is visionary, compelling and a brave approach? He does go on implying that maybe there not be that at the moment, but I'll leave that to you.
Okay, Philip, thank you very much indeed. Jocelyn Hayes, are you with us? Here's Jocelyn here. So we'll get a microphone to. Thank you.
Good
Would you
evening.
like to stand up and you can tell us what your background is, where you're from?
Good evening. My name's Jocelyn Hayes and I'm part of the York Dijon Twinning Group. And my question to the panel tonight is, what importance do you place and future aspirations do you have for the cultural life of this city and its links with our overseas European members? I think there might be overlaps with the first question. But
maybe a little, but
a little,
but we'll see.
We'll
We'll
get
leave
there.
that up to our panellists to do that. Jocelyn, thank you very
Thank
much
you.
indeed. And final question in this section comes from Phil Crabtree, who is here. If someone could wheel a microphone to Philip Crabtree. Can you explain what your background, where you're coming from?
Yes, thank you. I'm currently chair of Malton Museum. I had a 40-year career in local government in economic development, planning and regeneration. My question to you is, given the outstanding archaeological history of North Yorkshire and York, what support would you give museums to help bring more visitors to the area and promote the local economy? And just as two examples, Richard Pryor, who's one of the most distinguished archaeologists in the UK, describes Star Car, and I wonder how many of you know where it is, as Britain's earliest known settlement containing the foundations of Britain's earliest house. And the monument complex at Thornborough, just north of Ripon, has just recently been acquired by English Heritage, and it's been called the Stonehenge of the North. Historic England considers its landscape comparable in ceremonial importance to better known sites such as Stonehenge, Avebury and Scarab Brae in Orkney. So these are two fantastic sites which are perhaps little known within the area, never mind beyond.
Thank you very much indeed for that. As someone who was once allowed briefly to handle one of the headdresses from Star Car, I know where you're coming from. It's very important. Visit the Yorkshire Museum to see more. This time starts around with Keith Tornoth to answer the three questions you just heard. Keith.
Thank you. Firstly, we've got everything on our doorstep to sell throughout York and North Yorkshire, so it's an easy sell really. And we had an organisation called Welcome to Yorkshire, which actually got quite well known around the world, especially bringing the Tour de France originally, then the Tour de Yorkshire and the UCI. I was involved in that process and I made Nidderdale, so it became a legacy part of the group by working with Scaraberry and Christine Proudhon. So we've lost all that. Welcome to Yorkshire, which was a really good brand. The councils have pumped money into the organisation, even though when it was failing, never had the foresight to actually put charge against the actual name Welcome to Yorkshire. So we need to get that brand back. I appreciate the City of York and North Yorkshire coming up with the tourist plans, but we need a central plank to that. And if I am elected, I will make sure, bringing the two together, we actually make it so that we've got a fantastic brand. And that's the first part. So I think it's an easy one to promote around the world. I've done it already with a business which gets visitors from Japan coming to Little Old Paper Bridge once and twice a year in various other parts of the world. So it can be done, and it can be done on a bigger scale. In relation to twinning and culture, I said Tour de Yorkshire really that. By the way, when we had that, all our roads were perfect. We've got potholes again now, so we need another Tour de France or something, I think. And in regard to the museum, we've got a fantastic museum run by volunteers in Nidderdale, the Nidderdale Museum. So we, besides other places, there are other museums. I'm a supporter of that, have been over many, many years. And with that, we've got the Queen's Award for it, for basically a commercial, it's a social enterprise. And that is part of, again, promotion, getting recognition, and then that brings people in. And it's always busy in our museum in Nidderdale. So it needs this leadership, it needs this ambassador, and it needs to actually start spreading the message. We've got something fantastic. And, we need another welcome to York and North Yorkshire as a brand.
I'll
register that, by the way.
Thank you. Right, so we'll come back to start and return to Paul to press those questions.
I'm trying to be able to read my writing yesterday. Maybe I should have been a doctor. Anyway, the first thing is that to attract any sort of attention, you've got to have a great product. So I think it's important that we realise that that we have a great product, but we also maintain it. And that takes me back to the first question, which was on the previous question, where I was asked about maintaining a lot of our heritage, and we must maintain it, and we must make sure that it's, when people come and see it, it is more than what they expected, and we have to over-deliver. Now, the Mayor has an ambassadorial role and gets out there, but there are other areas that we can do. So, for example, in Harrogate, we have a conference centre, and 80% of everybody who comes to that conference centre says they're going to come back to North Yorkshire and visit. But one of the things I'd love to see throughout that conference centre is every single wall has to be an area of outstanding beauty or culture or heritage from the whole of North Yorkshire. And just think how attractive that is. They have escalators, and I'd like those things like they have on the Underground in London, where you go up the escalator and it's a picture of every different element of this area. So there are ways that we can do this. And if you go to Leeds Bradford Airport, you show me in the gents, I'm in the ladies, but in the gents on the back of the doors, there are pictures of outstanding places in North Yorkshire. So it does work. So we need to get out there and we need to be able to market what we have. In terms of the other two questions, I would promote wanting European people here. I think that we are part of Europe, and therefore we should be exchanging and learning from each other. And in terms of archaeological history, of course, that's going to be part of the product of York and North Yorkshire, and I would certainly support that too.
Paul, thank you. Listen.
Thank you. When we talk about promoting culture, I find this quite a difficult question to answer, because culture is not just art and heritage, it's the creative industries as well. So I am going to just touch on the creative industries briefly, because I don't want you to feel left out, and there's some of you here this evening. And I just will mention that last night I was here for the launch of York Angels, and that was a fantastic and very inspiring event. The room was absolutely rammed with entrepreneurs and funders coming together and finding opportunities in which to raise funds and develop growth. So in terms of promoting creative industries, I'm very pleased to see York Angels have already engaged with that in order to help them grow. But I think we're really talking more about art and heritage in this question. So in terms of dealing with that, I've touched on what my tourism strategy would look like. I would stress in relation to Philip's question that it needs to be joined up. There are a lot of organisations working very, very hard, doing their very, very best to achieve the right thing for York and North Yorkshire, but we're not all yet on the same page, and this is where we need a clear vision. We need to identify our themes and our trends. We need to identify our markets, and many of those markets will be within Europe, and our messaging needs to be on brand in whatever way we deliver it. And there are a million ways of delivering a message. I do know myself the power of television. My hotel was one of the BBC's amazing hotels. And it's the best marketing moment I will ever have during my business. That is on permanent repeat all over the world, and based on just that experience alone, it would be my ambition to have a tourism location strategy in order to use and monetize as much as we can the benefits of having some fantastic film locations. In terms of Thornborough, yes, we have unsung heroes. We do need to identify those attractions within and those I'm some heroes and yes, undiscovered gems that we have and make sure that they are put on the map. And as Mayor, I will be here to be your hero and to be your champion and make sure that we are all finding those places. Thank you.
Felicity, thank you. The final thoughts on this subject to David Stead.
Thanks, yeah. On the working with other countries and international, we do have the York and New York link, which is happening next week. So a team are going from York over to New York to expand on that thing. I think we should be doing more of that. It's so important that we are international always into York and into North Yorkshire. It's a huge driver of our economy. In terms of, I think we're right. I think we've lost a lot when we lost Welcome to Yorkshire, that whole spokesperson about how the whole region works together. And when he started working with Tracy Braden and Alder Coppard in South and West Yorkshire, to how we really promote Yorkshire as a collective and as a whole, and how the whole region has a lot of different offerings. Obviously, we have a lot of coastal and rural aspects in particular, and how we link up the whole of Yorkshire, so we have teams all collectively working together. So I think as has been touched on, there are so many organisations doing tremendous work in North Yorkshire and Yorkshire collectively. But what we can end up doing is almost crossing over, so it's working collectively together to have a whole approach very Yorkshire-wide, and that's going to benefit us here in North Yorkshire and everywhere else. But the big one is having better connectivity. We find a lot of people just can't move around the region very well. So when we connect the region up, so when people can move more freely out into other areas of North Yorkshire, say York, for example, they can come into York for a long weekend, how we then move people from here out into the other areas, out into the coast, out into our rural communities, so they can visit these areas that quite often people don't get to, unfortunately. So I think it's really sending that message how York can be the gateway into North Yorkshire, having those quality transport links, and we can open up that connection, but also having those connections with other parts of Yorkshire, South and West Yorkshire. We are allowed to leave York and North Yorkshire, nobody don't always want to, but we can, and we can go into other parts of Yorkshire and vice versa. So I think having those connections, working collectively, bringing our own form, I suppose, the modern day version of Welcome to Yorkshire, working with, and then internationally, creating those links that we are doing now, but expand on those even more.
David, thank you very much indeed. And thank you for addressing those questions on promoting the culture of the region more widely. If we have time at the end, I do want to open up some questions from the floor. So if you want to pick up either all four candidates or just one in particular on what he or she has said, then please feel free to do that. But we'll move on to our next category of questions, broadly under the heading of business support and strategy for the creative industries. And the first question comes from Damien Murphy. Damien, are you with us? The microphone is yours. Can you explain who you are and what your background is?
Thank you very much. My name is Damien Murphy. I'm a professor at the University of York. I'm the director of the XR Stories project based in the Guildhall. And for the last 5 years, we've been supporting the economic growth of the creative industries across the whole of Yorkshire and Humber, enabling that through R&D. So culture and tourism, as we know, are important to York and North Yorkshire's economy. But we need to balance our economic portfolio more carefully for the wider benefit of all of our citizens in the region and develop the skills needed for a future knowledge-based economy. The creative industries draw on our cultural offering. We have nearly 2,000 creative industries businesses as defined by DCMS and according to our latest ONS data in our region. And we need to combine those with digital and technical skills and innovation to produce an agile, flexible and highly skilled workforce. Most other local authorities in the UK recognise this opportunity for economic growth and have developed a strategy to support this. What's our combined authority going to do?
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Damien. And the second question, only two questions in this category, comes from Jamie Sykes. Jamie Sykes, here with us right at the back. And if you tell us whereabouts you're coming from, then that would be great.
Sure, thank you. So I'm launching an AI-based agri-tech startup. We're trying to boost yields and reduce pesticide use in farming. My question is around government funding for tech startups like this. So in this very competitive space, we need government funding to get up and off the ground, but it's very difficult to get. It's a very laborious process to get it. What will you do as Mayor to expedite this process so companies like mine can stay and grow in North Yorkshire?
Thank you very much. One of the jobs that the new mayor is going to be is a bit of a conduit with Westminster for funding. Let's return to Paul to start with the answers to those two questions.
Thank you, and thank you for your work the last 5 years on developing this this creative media industry, which is growing and growing, and we do need to capitalise on it. I think you answered the question yourself. Really, we need to develop a strategy, and it's important that we do develop a strategy and a plan, and we talk to experts like yourself as to which parts are the best parts of that business to develop. I think we need to focus and pick out certain ones that we believe are the winners. We won't pick them all, but I think if we have a scattergun effect, it will not help. We need to get businesses in different stages of progress, which goes to the question at the back. So if we have, and also I think it was Abby who wants to stay in Yorkshire and have a job. So we need to have businesses that are at different stages of development, like maybe they get more higher paid jobs, etc. So I'd be looking at how we sort that out. And of course, we've got some great experts to refer to. So that will be what I'll be looking to do there. In terms of, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
Jamie.
Jamie at the back there. In terms of developing technology companies, I think, and in particular, you picked on, you're actually in the agricultural space, which is something I'm very keen on us sorting out, in particular, sort of the use of all the technologies in order to improve that particular industry. And I think one of the things that we need to be looking at is how we have a service that helps businesses like yourself continue to get funding for the various growth stages, because businesses don't grow like that. They do this and they have a demand for building an infrastructure, and the turnover will shoot up, and then they'll plateau for a while they get the infrastructure again right to get to that next stage. So scaling up is very important, and I think we need to support that scaling up process. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Felicity.
Thank you. Damien, thank you for your question. How do we make the workforce more agile? I think is essentially what you're asking here. So a few headlines here. As mayor, I'd make the workforce more agile by investing in skills. There's an apprenticeship scheme, which is a scheme I would support for learning for young adults and mature adults also. I would support the Creative Skills Academy. It has funding for 1 year at the moment, but I would support that and any other academies that set up, that strike out in the same way. I'd also, of course, support colleges and universities to enable them to carry on delivering education and also making sure that their education meets the business demands. For the workforce to be agile and to be able to get to work, we need a transport system that works. They need to be able to live nearby, so we need affordable housing nearby. For the workforce to be agile, and also businesses also need to be able to grow in order for them to prosper. So it's access to finance again, to sort of holding back the SMEs. And in many cases, it's lack of workspace. So I would address where the shortages are and ensure, with my ability to be able to influence planning decisions and drive investments into the right areas, then that would answer that question. Jamie, with regard to starting up your business in bioeconomy, best of luck with that. So that's an area of the industry, of the economy that I'd really like to support more. In your case, I would fund research more to drive that forward, to enable more pilots to be carried out in order to demonstrate the benefits of what the plant-based solutions can deliver. And that would then lead to demand. That would enable your business to grow. And I would also, running alongside that, help drive funding into your business and to enable you to grow. I appreciate what you're saying about funding through government schemes that are very difficult to access. As mayor, I'd be able to enable more public money, but also more private funding. And I've already mentioned the Angel Scheme. I'd like to invest more time and provide more grace in that way. Thank you.
Leslie, thank you very much. And David, to you and your thoughts to the questions on business support.
Yeah, in terms of creating that workforce that we made and that agile, that's something I've been working on quite closely with, is how we're creating that link into industry and into our colleges, into our training providers. So we have that link, so we are creating this, we're creating the skilled workforce our industries need. So that will be relying on people like yourself and working with our colleges, our universities around the region to be able to work closely to understand that the skills we're going to be needing in 3, 5, 10 years' time. Something that I just bring up on that as well is actually what a lot of training providers we've spoken to slightly is actually a lot of the time they're actually struggling to have enough teachers and tutors to actually then train the next generation workforce. So it's work on that side as well. So speaking with Steve Rodman, the Liverpool mayor, something he's really invested in. He's actually almost giving people a second career. So if they worked in the industry for a long time, provide them a pathway and they can become the next generation of trainers and tutors, so they can bring on the next generation of workforce. Because we need that constant flow of people coming through. We can't basically afford to have that stop and then lose people because we don't have the providers here. So having those two links, so bringing very industry directly into education and university, so we're creating that link so we know exactly what we've got, because then it also means that people are up to speed and work quicker, because then they've already kind of really understand and on the skill set that's required. So industries can develop faster, quicker, and because we have so many SMEs, particularly in York and North Yorkshire, we can be, and I say we because I'm one as well, we can be really agile and move very quickly with changing technologies. I'm not tech at all. I might exit down on a path with a pen, I get freaked out by laptops and iPads. But because tech is developing so quickly, we need that workforce that can develop quickly as well. So making sure that we keep those constant mix as well. And it's not just, we're not just creating a generic workforce, it's really being bespoke into what industry need so we can move quickly. In terms of the gentle question about, there's going to be a lot of investment coming into that sector over time as well. I've worked with a lot of sorry, I understand sometimes I get a bit stuck on words. But we've been working quite closely with Felham, the University of York, with organisations in the region who are looking to really grow into your sector. There's going to be, I believe there's going to be a lot of investment coming into line of work that you are discussing. So that, again, I think it's working really closely, understanding what the capabilities are, running pilots, supporting you as much as we can. But in terms of investment in that sector you are in, I believe in the next 3, 5, 10 years' time, particularly from a Labour government, because where they've been talking about in terms of your sector, there's going to be huge growth in there. So I think you're probably at the forefront of it. It's probably hitting at a good time. Obviously, it's working closely with someone like yourself.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. And finally, the thoughts of one of the independent candidates, Keith Tornoff.
Yeah, the only independent candidate, thank you. Keith Tornoff again. The digital, technological, we've got a rich history, of course, because in Yorkshire, Grand Theft Auto started off in Leeds, which I don't know whether a lot of people realise that. And so we've got that history, and it can actually work very well. First thing I'm going to do is, and I've already spoken to the Combined Authority Transitional Team, I've asked them to arrange an appointment if I was elected to go down to Westminster and get a better financial package and deal, because we've only got tier 3. They don't trust us in York and North Yorkshire with money, because every other authority has got a tier 4, and amazingly, the Conservative government, a lot of the Labour authorities have got better settlement than we have. Also, and it will be settled from day one, which I've discussed with the transition team, there will be a mayoral fund created, which will be contributed to partly from the mayoral authority, but mainly from business, high net worth individuals, charitable trusts. I've done this before with charitable trusts, high net worth individuals, to bring money in to get projects off the ground. And bear in mind, I'm unpaid for everything that I've ever done. I'm a volunteer, so if I can do that by doing without funding, with this funding, we can deliver a massive amount. So the first thing is to get more additional funding in to be able to support the various things. The mayoral fund, the idea of it is there's too much bureaucracy and red tape, so this will be a lot simpler process set up, which means that people who are starting grassroots businesses can actually start to get funding a lot simpler than having to employ somebody to spend a year trying to fill the paperwork out to achieve it. So it will be very practical, and I say the creative industries I've been to, such as I mentioned previously, Labman up in the North East employs about 150, 160 people, expanding, and the technology there with the robotics and the machinery that they're creating, a world leader. The only other firm that does it is in Switzerland, working with the people. I always say, no one person knows all the answers and isn't going to, but as a senior investigating officer, as somebody in business banking, I'm the conductor. In my orchestra, I've got fantastic, talented people in every area, whether they're trombone, violin, whatever. By bringing them together, we create that symphony and get that final result. And that's what I will do, because I will bring the right people in to make sure that you get the support and you get the support.
And now you've got a chairman that plays a whistle and blows it and stops you. You
can be in my own.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Thank you for your answers. To those questions about business support and strategy for creative industries. We've just got 2 more categories left, which means I think we're going to get time for some questions from you. So if you have got something you want to put to our panel tonight, please think about it. Penultimate section of questions relates to residents' participation in cultural life. And Jill Adamson is going to get the first of those two questions. Jill, can you identify yourself? And that's you. Hello. There's your microphone.
So I'm a creative consultant. I live in York. I've lived here for 35 years. The majority of my work and my employment happens outside of this region. So the question that I've got is about participatory and community arts, and that is, does the panel consider participatory and community art to be a valuable part of our culture? And if so, and we truly want to celebrate our creative industries and be proud of them, what plans are there in the future to better involve local residents?
Thank you. And just one more question in this category comes from Mary Rose Drew.
Thank you. Hello. Yes. Hi. As you can hear, I'm not originally from York,
You don't
but I know, Jonathan, hard to say. I've been here almost 19 years. I wear a lot of hats. I'm a small business owner. I'm a publisher. I'm a performance poet, and we run an open mic in the city for over 18 years. How can we, and I'm going to say York, because I know you're going to be, one of you or someone in this group will be the mayor of North Yorkshire and York, but I'm going to focus on York. How can York realistically, genuinely move the arts forward as a UNESCO creative city of arts? How can we do that without an arts center that is accessible and affordable for people like me and my authors and performance poets that I support to have a place to perform and that they can get into? As you all know, for every pound that is spent on the arts, 4 pounds is returned to the region. And I've heard that York supports 50% of the money.
Thank you very much indeed. So 2 questions, participation in the arts, community involvement, and why has York lived without an arts centre for such a very, very long time? David, first response to these penultimate 2 questions comes from you.
So something I want to create is the Mayor's High Street Fund, and because I have a shop on the High Street, I'm not quite selfish or dirty, but also I'm incredibly passionate about bringing people into our communities, using community space, and attracting families, individuals in, and not always for the most commercial sense of things, just to enjoy the space and just to enjoy York and North Yorkshire, we can say North Yorkshire as well. So with this, a big part of this would be like to work with organisations such as BID, Mate at York, and all these fantastic organisations we have around the region, and create these type of spaces, create space where things can happen, events can be put on, we can showcase the city and we can explore places. I think something that York BID, I know this out the back there, I think things that they do incredibly well is they actually bring people in and they showcase the space around York really, really well. So as Mayor's High Street Fund, I will support those organisations, but also support space. We do have a lot of empty space in York and the towns and cities right across the region, so how we utilise those empty spaces as well. So creating pop-ups, having these spaces where the shows and art gallery and events can happen, because we have to be using something with them, and we have an opportunity here. So putting some investment in there. So my initial investment will be about £1 million to put into this, and we work with organisations to promote city, but also promote space and give space over to people like yourselves to put on events to attract people in, because it's about bringing people in naturally, organically, because then that actually supports the local economy anyway, because then they're in one of the best weekends of the entire calendar year in York. It's the ice sculpture weekends. It's not commercial, you don't have to go in and buy anything, but it brings loads of people in, brings lots of families in, brings lots of guests in, and it really showcases York in a fantastic way. And it puts money into the pockets of businesses, which is almost like a secondary thing. But by creating that buzz, then that's what I want to do with my Mayor's High Street Fund, that it will support retail, that it will support organisations like yourself. And I forgot
the Arts Centre.
Yeah, and the Arts Centre, absolutely. Having a space. That's what we need to be doing, creating this space. We have empty spaces, we should be developing it. We need to be working, it's difficult because a lot of times we have vacant landlords, so it's very difficult to work with, but we need to be creating space that really adds in, as you say. pound spent in there has huge benefits. I think it's also understanding that we have a long-term plan here with the combined authorities, 30-year plan, so we can invest into the future. So year 1, year 2, but then we can invest and then bring this income in over time. Instead of doing things for short-term, short investment, actually develop into these sort of plans.
Thank you very much indeed. Please pass the microphone on. And Keith can have a go at Jill and Rose for questions.
Yeah, I think the important thing, it's about community, and it's about serving people, and that's what this election should be about, who's going to serve the people. Clearly, I'm not talking about what I'm going to do, I can talk about what I've done and how that can evolve and be developed and work in every area. In Nidderdale, we, as I said, chair of trade, but also chair of the Bloom Group, and that brought together the community because it brought together the schools, the churches and the dales, the dementia groups, our patron of dementia forward, and so many things. And then we were able to involve things such as the Yorkshire Ambulance, which I was fundraiser of the year from the Yorkshire Ambulance for the north of England, because they can benefit from the amount of people coming to the area. I've been involved in helping with the Nidderdale Art Trail, which is people opening up the homes so that people can go around the whole of Nidderdale, visit the homes, see the artwork they do, whether they're doing with the walls or whether they do it from nature, etc. I've mentioned about James Owen Thomas, Jot, if you look him up, who I've mentored and still mentor. And this is how we can develop it. So, of course, we need a central arts centre which the Mayor can look towards creating through my Mayoral fund, which will be running from day one, which I've discussed with the transitional team, which the agreement can be announced from day one. So I'm giving you a bit of an exclusive there. In relation to how you do this as well, is my track record, bringing people like Claire Balding, bringing people like Alan Titchmarsh, Paul Hollywood. I've never paid any of these people, but in my black book to bring for York and North Yorkshire, I'm elected. And the list is endless because I've worked with these people, presented awards. And I'm not trying to say it's about me, I'm trying to say the personality of this is going to be very important, because you can either have a politician or a councillor who is going to talk and talk, or somebody who actually delivers. And I'm honoured to say I was awarded the MBE for services to business and the community for those reasons, because delivering bus services which people said couldn't happen. And that's why it's important this message gets across, because this is for the future of the young people of York and North Yorkshire, and elect the wrong person, and we're going to carry on with the status quo and more of the same.
Thank you very much indeed. Very good. Paul, your responses to our last conundrum questions.
I think it's very important that we perhaps get into work in this area. And we've got to build the economy. And I think the key thing that the Mayor has to do is put a structure in place that enables businesses to grow and thrive in this area, but also to attract businesses into this area. And again, I go back to a previous question where I think there's got to be focus. What is the right creative industry to bring here? And I think that's where we have to start. As I say, the Mayor can be the ambassador to attract businesses, but what we need is a plan in the first place as to what it is we want to achieve here and what skills we actually have on offer. And I think then we can actually start to say, right, these are what we've got, these are what we need to develop, and then we go out there and the Mayor, the Combined Authority team start to look for businesses that we can bring into this area, which again creates this, what I would call a virtuous circle of creating jobs that are of a different structure. Because at the moment we've got too many jobs that are unpaid and not paid sufficiently, so we have to create that structure. In terms of an arts centre, again, I think if you bring in more and more commerce into the town, then you can get spin-offs, you get co-benefits, for want of a better phrase. So I think we need to look at that. And I think if we create a plan of what an arts centre would look like and what we want it to look like, then I think you've actually got the start of that dream and how it works. And then you can start to look at, again, effectively shop the marketplace to find out how we attract it and where we would put it. I mean, York seems pretty full right now, so where we find a building to do this, I'm not sure. But we do want to do it, and we clearly have residents that are going to involve themselves in the arts. So I think we've got to encourage that, because it's not just for the tourists, it's for us at the 365 days of the year. Thank you.
Thank you. Final thoughts on this from Felicity?
Thank you. Yes, it's my ambition to make culture a key element of our identity. It needs to be inclusive, it needs to be relevant, and it needs to be accessible. To do this, there are a number of ways. I would engage with children and young people, those who've been excluded from culture due to some limited resource at school. I would ensure that we restart the cultural commissioning programme to make sure that culture is recognised as part of our health and wellbeing. Culture would be embedded in as integral to our developments, be it street art, using vacant space, and supporting capital projects. I mean, when we're talking about the need for an artistic space, an area that's crying out for one, I think is York Central. That's where we could have something that's really brave, really ambitious, and design-led. And finally, in terms of funding, I have pledged to support the third sector. I would ensure that the stakeholders are consulted in terms of what is required and how best to invest. And the funding that I would raise would be a long-term funding commitment to enable the third sector to look beyond a year-to-year ambition, for there to be long-term strategy, investment, and also to improve staff recruitment and retention. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. So thank you to our 4 panellists. Would you like to give them a round of applause for their... for their performance thus far. No disrespect to the other questioners, they've all asked great questions. The humdinger of a question, I can warn you, has been kept until last. And it comes from Laura. Laura, I don't know how to pronounce your surname.
Althart. Sorry, I've got a sore throat.
It's
got
all right.
stage fright now.
Don't have stage fright. You're asking the question that's going to make people laugh out loud this evening and fill these 4 full of horror.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm Laura Althart. I'm a local resident, mother, and I'm a political researcher for my local MP, focusing on economic regeneration and development. My question is, firstly, what was your cultural highlight of last year? And secondly, if someone had 24 hours to spend in North Yorkshire, what would you tell them to do?
Great question. Not going to take this in the order that we've been taking things, and I'm going to actually open this up to the floor and say, who would like to speak to this first? Your cultural highlight of last year, and if someone had a day in North Yorkshire, where would you advise them to visit? Who would like to take it first? David.
My cultural highlight, I cannot remember the name of the play, so I've got a terrible memory. But it was Jerry Comer's play that was shown at the Everyman Cinema, where it was just herself doing a whole performance, and it was filmed in the National Theatre, and then it was shown, what's it called? Thank you very much. That was one of the best things I've ever seen. That was absolutely immersive. That's one of the best things I've seen in a very long time. That was in York Everyman. If I had 24 hours in York and North Yorkshire, we go, and the whole area, I would have to start off in York for breakfast. I'd go straight to Betty's. I'll send everyone there. You cannot do York and North Yorkshire without going to Betty's. So I'd go to Betty's. I would go around all the independent shops in York. So I'd go and get the Indie York map, which showcases all the fantastic maps and all the fantastic business we have in here. Then I would jump straight up to Helmsley, one of the most fantastic towns in the entire region. Well over 100 businesses operating there, one of the most beautiful towns in the entire region. Then I would head over to the coast. I would go probably to Firely, go for a swim in the sea. I'd probably take some very, very warm thermals there, so I'd drink in the sea over there, because it is a pretty nippy at the minute, as I can say quite recently. And then I would get onto the Yorkshire Moors. I was there a few weeks ago, went to the HQ of the Yorkshire Moors, and I'm absolutely blown away by how beautiful it is. Right on our doorstep. We do not use it enough, we do not appreciate it enough. I think we understand as well how much going to a place like the Yorkshire Moors is fantastic for our health and well-being as well. And so really detach yourself from city life and be very busy. So I'd hit York, I'd hit a beautiful town like Helmsley, go to this coast, jump for a swim, and then I'd go for a walk on the Yorkshire Moors. Probably get lost like I did as well when I was there a few weeks ago.
Okay, ticks a lot of boxes there. Again, open it to the floor. Which of the remaining 3 would like to have their say on this? Felicity, your cultural highlights of last year, and how you'd advise someone who's got just 24 hours for thing in North Yorkshire, where should they go?
Okay, so my cultural highlight last year was taking my godson to see Madeira. can't remember the name of the actress, but she did win an award famously. And it was in a great new theatre in London that lovely too before, so that was a good experience. In one day, it'll be a long 24 hours, but I would start in York and see the highlights there, and then I would visit a World Heritage Site. We have Townsend Abbey. I would surf in Scarborough. I'd go to the Three Peaks, and I would go to Malton's Food Market. So in one day, you would have seen Yorkshire's culture capital and also visited Yorkshire's food capital.
You'd be exhausted, but a long day but a good day. Okay, either Keith or Paul, who'd like to... Paul, your cultural highlight, and how does someone spend 24 hours in North Yorkshire?
Well, it's a tough one, isn't it?
It's a really difficult one, yeah.
Yeah. I suppose my cultural highlight in the last year was I actually was looking at some Monet paintings earlier the weekend. So that would be my cultural highlight. I do like art. I had just run the London Marathon, by the way, and that was the other piece of...
They're sending one here next, so you won't have to go that far.
Yeah, there is October 24th. I've got it in the diary. In terms of 24 hours, I think the first thing you've got to do if you've got 24 hours here is you've got to land out coffee or tea and a Betty's Fab Rascal. And then you're ready to go and visit all the different cultural places. For me, I like the great outdoors, so it would be places like Townsend Abbey, it would be like walking on the River Nid, and from the wild places on our coastline. But those are things that I would be recommending, but those are things that I'm actually sure that is our character. Thank you.
Thank you. Keith, the last one goes to you.
Yeah, thank you. A cultural highlight would be actually seeing a young man who did artwork for Britain in Bloom for us, who was severely autistic at school, developing to actually open his own gallery, which was a massive achievement. He's got a career in front of him. He's getting commissioned for his art around now all the country. So that's, to me, it's a fantastic achievement culturally, because I'm not necessarily somebody who goes looking at Monet's. And also, in relation to where I want to go, get on my bike, certainly cycle around Nidderdale, because we've got the 5 killer hills, the best countryside there is. Go up to Scarno, Reservoir, that fantastic dam that was built in the 1920s, and see the development that people used to live in the cinemas. They had doctors, they had everything there. And obviously a day out for me, because we don't go on holiday with me for over 25 to 30 years, is to go, our holidays, to go across to most probably Whitby for the day, go down to Sands End, and I will go and see, but I'm a bit worried about E. coli these days, to be quite honest with you. So that would be my sort of time out. I'm a very straightforward person, so of course fish and chips in the paper, preferably. I used to like newspapers actually, at least you read them while you're eating them. And so fish and chips, pretty simple, straightforward, and back to Nidderdale, back to my own bed where I normally get a good night's sleep.
Thank you. Laura, can I turn the tables on? Given that your voice is going, what was your cultural highlight? Oh, I can't hear you now. Is the mic off? No. There we are. No. Carry on.
York downstairs is to run the graduate schemes event in summer where we lots of really heteroistic and showcase what learned out as they bring themselves. So that was my cultural highlight.
York dance space.
But yeah, that's people get all the kids down.
Well, you've got a friend in the new man who's running York Theatre Royal, who's
York Theatre Royal.
got a big dance background. Very keen to bring it. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, we have about 10 or 12 minutes left before the caretaker starts rattling his keys at us. Is there a question or a subject area that anyone in the audience tonight feels has not been touched upon and you really would like either an answer from everyone on the panel or just from one panel member? The lady here. Do you want to stand up and we'll get a microphone to you as well? Do you want to identify yourself and... It's not working, is it?
Yes.
We'll get the other mic to you. Pass the communion plate along. No, that's close. No. Something's definitely gone with the sound system. It was buzzing a second or two ago. Oh, there we are. No. Let's have one of these, shall we?
That works.
Yeah. Okay.
Excuse. No. Let's try this instead. No.
Work right.
All running around consequence and sorry.
That works, yeah. I'm Denise Cartmill. I'm York resident, a Green Party member. I just wanted to ask the candidates, how would you make sure that the region's culture and tourism policies are consistent with delivering on zero carbon and on nature recovery? And I'm thinking there could be a number of different answers that you might address on this, but you might also want to address the question of international tourism, which you all seem to assume could go on potentially increasing with no limits or boundaries. And that's probably not going to be the case. So both in terms of the impact on the environment and on just future financial, economic, strategic planning, it's not necessarily a good idea. In York Minster have a forward-looking policy that kind of recognises that, and they're really trying to take that on board with their forward plans and what they do. And I just wonder if you could address that aspect.
Okay, who would like to, thank you. Who would like to take this first? Paul. Yeah. You don't have a microphone now. There you go.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely correct that everything we do going forward needs to take into account its impact on future climate change. Only a couple of weeks ago, I discovered I've got my first great grandchild coming along, so I want to make sure that the world is going to be right for them. So there's a lot of things, but we have to be mindful all the time. And we also have to be mindful of the risks, and the risk is, in this case, you're talking about international travel, and we do need to be aware of what the risk is of that perhaps closing down or becoming too expensive, or that they don't develop the technology. So we do have to be aware, and we have to both adapt as well as mitigate, because we've got a lot of issues currently, particularly around flooding, and so we do have to deal with all those things. So it is important that that anything we do in the cultural area has got an eco, or to want to be better phrased, an eco, an environmental and a sustainable plan behind it in all cases. And whether there's a cost associated to that, and that might be where your tourism tax comes.
Okay, thank you. Felicity.
Yeah, thank you for this question. In terms of international travel, I think the expectation is that it won't completely collapse, but people will make fewer journeys, but they will stay for longer when they do. So it's important in terms of strategy to recognise that and to make the offer apply to longer trips where there's more to experience and to enable people to travel when they're here by public transport. I think it's essential that everyone, the ambition is that everyone who arrives here in York and North Yorkshire arrives on public transport and doesn't feel the need to hire a car when they're here. So that hands-on, the public transport system here being good, both in terms of routes coming into the region, but also the ability to cross the region with an integrated public transport system, which would be within my list as a mayor to deliver. I think we also need to recognise there is a growing demand for sustainable travel, that we should be leading the field in this front. We do have the resource to be able to do that. I myself ran an off-grid campsite. I set that up in 2012, and since then that sector has grown exponentially. And then the final element of your question really needs to address the delivery of that tourism experience. So you're looking at how the staff have reached the place of work, they're living in insulated housing, and whether or not that place of business is in itself generating its own green energy. So I have pledged to support businesses with solar panels and generation of their own power and heat. I myself, I have a biomass boiler at my business. I was the first hotel in the UK to install one, and it supplies all my heating and hot water using redundant timber for my spa and for my hotel. And so I do have an understanding of what's required. Hotels are very, very energy hungry, and I would support them to reduce their emissions in that count.
Thank you. Thank you.
As the combined authorities, we do have a duty of care as well to make sure we are meeting our net zero targets as well. So it's not just looking at tourism industry and culture like we're talking about tonight. It is the whole region collectively. A big part of it is going to be transport and travel and how people move around. That's why I'm very keen to work on the regions as a whole in the north and how we start journeys from A to B. So if you're moving, say, from say a destination in Manchester where we get a lot of visitors and tourism from, how that journey starts directly from there all the way into our region. So that is that whole collective northern working with say Andy Byrne and Steve Goffin and the whole entire of the north and how we connect. We also do have funding with the combined authority to invest into net zero projects and working with organisations and businesses throughout the region to support them in that. I also welcome Labour's national plan to really invest in GB energy and the Green Prosperity Plan in terms of energy. In York and North Yorkshire, we're slightly moving away from these industries, but we have got huge potential to be a leading light in being a whole green region, and I think that's a fantastic selling point in terms of tourism and attracting people here. If we can showcase that message that we are a region that is really showcasing that and leading light on that, particularly with our rural areas and our coastal areas. We have huge potential, especially in energy. And if we could be the region that is driving forward the whole plan of meeting net zero, reaching the target, I think that is a great pull as a region because it'll be a place that people want to come and live, manifest in.
And finally, Keith.
Yeah, I'll be fairly brief so somebody else can get another question in, hopefully.
I'm not think we're going to.
Oh, right, okay. So it's all part of the strategic planning for the mayor when he comes in to make sure we've got an efficient transport system, active travel, to lessen the amount of traffic that's actually coming into certainly the major places such as York, Harrogate, etc. So, to be fair, I think a cross-section of what all the candidates said is basically there's statutory duties to follow the mayor, and clearly there's people going to be imposed who are going to be working on the strategy, and they're your officers who obviously you asked to get that scientific plan down.
Thank you very much indeed. I'm aware that there's a very determined member of the audience with his hand up over here. Can we get some microphone to him? Just hear what he has to say, because with all due respect, I think he's one of the younger members of the audience.
Yeah, thank you very much. Hello, my name's Councillor Tyler Cowell-Wilson, Kirk. I want to thank all the candidates who've signed out that's actually been here so if they could compare to me. And as a young person, I want to be a politician listening to us. Secondly, although this isn't very diverse really, one of the great things about Yorkshire is our diversity. You know, all the various religions, various languages that are talked in here. It's one of our strengths. And based on that, a very big issue that I've heard talking to people, especially in certain communities, is do the candidates support Britain ending weapons sales to Israel? Thanks.
Right. I think that takes us away from our agenda tonight. Possibly a question for another occasion. This was their 17th Hustings. Comment from the lady here in the fabulous closed hat.
Thank you.
Well.
I'd have it deep.
Pass the parcel again.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you for all your contributions. I've been hearing a deep chuckle from various merchant adventurers at the question that was in my head.
Did they look like they ever chuckled to you?
I think so. I think so. So the question I'm going to have is that you've given a lot of information, brilliant. And you've got an option. What is the question that you would have loved to have been asked and haven't? What is the question that you would have absolutely dreaded to be asked? And how would you have answered?
Okay. Let's give that one a very quick go. Keith, the question you loved to have been asked, you enjoyed being asked, you dreaded?
I would like to have been asked about the film that I was involved in consultation on in relation to a playground like Mayoral, because it's narrated by Sean Bean, and I would just like to paraphrase Sean Bean and say, today a great legacy rests upon your shoulders, because here on the 2nd of May you need to make your vote count. Do it for each other, do it for yourself, do it for your family, but most of all, do it for York and North Yorkshire. Make your vote count, vote Keith Independent.
Jamie?
I think in terms of the question I'd like to be asked was about younger generations into creative industry. Sorry, I do understand this. I was at, and it was incredible actually. It was the Lego League National Finals that was in Harrogate last weekend. As someone who's a Lego fan and has a child who's now who still builds lots of Lego, it's amazing to be there. We didn't have a single school there from York and North Yorkshire. There was 1,600 children there. Incredible to be there. Schools from Birmingham, Manchester, Edinburgh. Not a single school there from York and North Yorkshire. Since then, I've met with 2 organisations already who are going to sponsor schools to be able to participate in this next year. The fact it was in Harrogate as well, and the heart of North Yorkshire didn't have anyone there, was, I found it really sad actually. I thought that wasn't good enough. So how we engage in younger generations into creative industry, into tech industries in particular, so starting off young, so getting kids 7, 8, 9 to 10 years old, so how we invest in that. So that's what I look to do, to bring good industry into school very early on, to invest in that.
David, going to stop you there. No, you don't love Lego when you stand up in your bare feet in the dark, do you? Felicity.
I was hoping we might touch on flooding, seeing as that we're in York. 2 of York's biggest attractions get flooded regularly. I know that the cruise boat business lost 65 days of business last year due to flooding. I've just been there today and talked to them about my natural flood management scheme, which they were very, very pleased to hear about. So in brief, I'll just explain. This is a natural solution to our flooding. It controls the flow, it prevents the peaks, it stops sewage being poured into our rivers, and it's a scheme which I've pledged to deliver catchment-wide for the rivers Mid, Ure and Swale, which will prevent flooding not only in York, but all the rivers and towns on those tributaries, including to York.
Newton. Thank you. And the last words, Paul. What were you asked, or what would you like to have been asked?
Well, I guess the question that I'd like everybody to have asked, because I'm hoping they're going to go away and say, yes, they're going to vote. And I'm not essentially saying they're going to vote for me, but they are going to vote and they're going to participate. This particular election is probably the most significant election for 50 years for this area. It's an opportunity for a huge step change in our future and the future of everybody here. And I would just encourage you to vote and all your friends to vote, because you don't want it to be, at the moment they're forecasting a 15% turnout. That's not, for something that's going to be so important to our futures, I really think that that's disappointing. So I would like to be asked, why do we need to vote? And I already do. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Right, by my calculation, it's 7 days, 1 hour and 51 minutes until the polls close. So we're probably running that, maybe 6 days. Polling day is a week today, so I'm sure you are going to turn out to vote. Thank you so much indeed for your questions, for your interest this evening. Thank you again to our panellists, and thank you. Thank you in no particular order to the York Bid, Make It York, York Civic Trust, York Tourism Advisory Board and the Guild of Media Arts for making tonight as possible, and to the team here at the Merchant Adventurers. Have a very safe journey home. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.